everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We have obviously a little bit of a different setup. If you're just joining us for the very first time, thank you so much for checking out Bay State. My name is Steven, one of the pastors here, and this is my wife, Deb. They don't do that when I introduce myself. That's right. All right, you're out. So whenever we have a conversation that I think could be bolstered by having two different voices, especially when it's something that both men and women are involved in. So when we're having conversations about parenting or marriage or even just like male to female relationships, which that's probably worth its own series right now, like culturally. I always like having Dev up here. Not only is she wiser than me, and our views go up online because she's prettier than me too.
I have gray hair now too, and I heard that's wisdom. So it just keeps getting better with this.
I don't see a single strand of gray hair. And I keep on telling her that there's no grays in me. But so whenever we have a conversation that feels like it would make sense for both of us to be up here, I drag Dev on stage or ask her. And one of the things I love about my wife is that every time she's always questioning, like, is it going to be helpful or is it going to be a distraction? She's never like, get me on that stage. And then what's really cool is as we work through these things, it just makes it better. And so we're hoping that today is a blessing to you, because today what we want to talk about is how to actually invest in and make our most significant relationship better. Whether you are single, married, engaged in the room, we hope that this is going to be actually something that will benefit you. So if you're married, we want to invest in your marriage. If you're not married yet, our hope is that we're setting you up to actually have an amazing marriage when you do get married. Do you have anything you want to? Not yet. Okay. We also script this out so it says Steve and then Dev, and Dev actually said to Matt, he just doesn't shut up in the back. And then Matt went, yeah, I know. So we're just going to go. So in October 1946, there's a man by the name of Richard Feynman, and he wrote a letter to his wife. He was a theoretical physicist. He was a Nobel Prize winner. He's a master of many fields, but one of the fields that it's really obvious he had mastered was the art of writing. And what I want to read to you as we start is just this letter that he wrote to his wife. It says this: Dear Arlene, I adore you, sweetheart. I know how much you like to hear that, but I don't only write it because you like it. I write it because it makes me warm all over inside to write it to you. It is such a terribly long time since I last wrote to you, almost 2 years. But I know you'll excuse me because you understand how I am, stubborn and realistic, and I thought there was no sense to writing. But now I know, my darling wife, that it is right to do what I have delayed doing, and what I have done so much in the past. I want to tell you I love you. I want to love you. I always will love you. I find it hard to understand in my mind what it means to love you after you are dead. But I still want to comfort and take care of you. I want you to love me and care for me. I want to have problems to discuss with you. I want to do little projects with you. I never thought until just now that we can do that. What should we do? We started to learn to make clothes together, or learn Chinese, or get a movie projector. Can't I do something now? No. I'm alone without you, and you were the idea woman, the general instigator of all our wild adventures. When you were sick, you worried because you could not give me something that you wanted to and thought I needed. You needn't have worried. Just as I told you then, there was no real need because I loved you in so many ways so much. And now it is clearly even more true. You can give me nothing now, yet I love you so much that you stand in my way of loving anyone else. But I want you to stand there. You, dead, are so much better than anyone else alive. I know you will assure me that I'm foolish and that you want me to have full happiness and don't want to be in my way. I'll bet you're surprised that I don't even have a girlfriend except you, sweetheart, after 2 years. But you can't help it, darling, nor can I. I don't understand it, for I've met many girls and very nice ones, and I don't want to remain alone. But in 2 or 3 meetings, they all seem ashes. You only are left to me. You are real. My darling wife, I adore you. I love my wife. My wife is dead. Rich. P.S. Please excuse my not mailing this, but I don't know your new address.
So I just want to acknowledge before we really get started into this that even just reading something like that, starting this off, we know that there are a lot of different situations in this room. So acknowledging that, I know there are many who have been in past marriages. There are many who this immediately made you uncomfortable because you're going to be like, wow, you're going to try to make us happy, and we don't want to talk about it. Some people might be in here and they're like, we're looking for ways to be better. There are some who have lost a spouse. There are all sorts of stories in this room, and I could go into lots of tiny little categories on those things, but I just want you guys to hear from us that we see and we understand that there's a lot of scenarios in here, but our hope today is that this helps us all kind of reevaluate where we are and how we view these relationships.
And I wanted to start off this morning by reading that letter because I do believe that letter kind of makes you feel what I believe God wants you to feel when you experience his unconditional love for you. That we couldn't do anything to earn God's love, and so it should actually leave us with this sense of feeling humbled, grateful, and a little convicted about our own roles in our relationships.
This has been a challenging year for a lot of relationships. We've had many conversations, even with some of you in the room, even recently. And we've had our own check-in conversation, even in the last month, just because we weren't quite as in sync as we wanted to be. It happens, right? Relationships ebb and flow, but it's healthy for us to continue having those check-ins, and we're like, something just isn't quite right. And I think we can all list reasons for our tensions, right? It's kids, jobs, sports, whatever it may be, maybe even just too much time on our phones. But I think at the very heart of it, we know that if something is going to change, if we want something to change, we all know that something has to change if there's going to be change in our relationships. I said change a lot. You guys know what I mean. We can't just keep doing the same thing, hoping for a different outcome. If we're looking for something else, we need to start doing something else.
That's where this conversation comes in, because I think all of us have seen that the average couple isn't relating well to each other. There's so many stats behind that right now. And not only is the goal isn't just to relate to each other in a healthy way. The goal is actually to relate to each other in a way that is God-honoring. Like, we don't just want a average relationship. We want a godly relationship. And so this morning, our aim is to give you just several pieces of wisdom that if you apply them to your marriage or your future marriage, you can go from struggling to relate to each other to relate able. And so that first piece of wisdom that we have for you is just this idea that unresolved tension keeps you tense.
Yes. So I'm going to start off on this one because I tend to be the one out of the two of us that needs to, like, quote unquote, sleep on it. I need time. Stephen can address anything in the moment. I am I need at least 5 minutes, sometimes 5 hours. It depends on what the situation might be. My intention there is I don't want to just respond in my emotions. I want to actually process and make sure I'm answering you well. So I think there's wisdom in that, but the natural tendency, if you are more like me, then I think it's very natural, very human to be like, well, everything kind of cooled down. Maybe if we just don't acknowledge it again, we don't have to go back to that heated moment. I don't have to feel that again. I don't have to go back into it. And it's really important that we take that time away, but don't forget to step back into the conversation, because it's a very common phrase to sweep it under the carpet, right? But if you sweep it under the carpet, it's still in the room. And what happens when everything gets heated the next time? everything comes out from under the carpet, right? If you don't live in this home, you may have grown up in this home, you are familiar with what this looks like. Laura Lentz said the number one predictor of marriage longevity is the rate of reconciliation. Whether you go to your spouse and say, I'm sorry, within 24 hours of inflicting any damage. So how quickly you respond is the tell of how you reconcile.
If you don't know who Laura Lentz is, she's the wife of the formerly famous and now for a lot of people infamous Pastor Carl Lentz. Carl Lentz was the pastor of a church called Hillsong, New York City. He was a phenomenal speaker, this unbelievable, famous leader. He was kind of the celebrity pastor, both in being a celebrity himself, but then a pastor to celebrities. But he got caught at the peak of his fame in having an affair. And the other side of that is that Laura said this line on a podcast that they have together now, years after that incident, where they've since reconciled, and they actually do counseling for couples. They work with couples who are dealing with that same type of situation, that they've actually made things better in their relationship and want to invest in others. But that idea of the rate of reconciliation, just asking yourself, how quickly can we identify, or how quickly can I identify my role in any pain that I've inflicted? Like, even if Dev's not the one who started the fight, if the way that each of us fight could inflict some level of pain or tension within our relationship, both of us being able to own our own role in that, like, who cares who started it? As long as both of us can actually reach a point where we can resolve it, right? Like, we tend to want to blame, like, well, you started this, or if you hadn't. It's like, no. If either one of us has any level of blame in the tension that we're experiencing, what can we do to resolve some of that? And the faster you can apologize, the less time you're giving that tension to build into something worse.
I think it's very common in these scenarios to, at least, okay, I'll give you me, for example. Like, I carry my tension very physically. I know there's a couple people in the room that carry it very similar to me. If you're really stressed out, it starts in your shoulders, it makes its way up your neck, it turns into headaches, sometimes migraines, whatever it might be. I might be having a tough time with just like our crazy schedule, or maybe I did a tough workout and literally my muscles are stressed out, so it's creating these other symptoms.
This was happening so often. My fingers were worked to the bone giving her back massages. Any of the husbands in the room know what I'm talking about? Like, my hands hurt, like I had cramps. And so I got her this massager for her neck and shoulders. I thought it was an awesome gift. That same week, she comes up to me and she goes, I'm just feeling tense. Could you give me a massage? And I thought I was doing like earning points. And I went, I bought you that massager. You don't need me. Husbands, you lose man points for that. So you get her the massager. That's for when you are away, okay? Anyways.
I would just like to say that year, we got each other the same massager for Christmas. It's like one of the ones that sits on your shoulder and it gets heated. And I think both of us were over it. We're like, use this. Yeah. Anyway, I think sometimes we look at the physical tension and we just want to treat the symptom, right? When there's actually something mental, emotional going on, but we start treating the symptom. Like, we might go for a walk, or there might be a massage involved, or whatever it might be. But Proverbs 17:9 says this, love prospers when a fault is forgiven. So, right, love is what grows when we share forgiveness with each other. But dwelling on something separates close friends. Sometimes we treat our physical tension like it is the main issue. It's the thing we treat most often. Life feels hard, so I'm just going to go for a walk and I'm going to let off some steam. But that tension is just going to keep returning if we don't actually deal with the root issue. For example, the massage gun can fix your stiff neck, but it won't fix your marriage. It's not the cure-all. It doesn't magically fix everything, right? The act of addressing and forgiving faults releases the pent-up tension between you. We can't relate to each other if we remain tense with each other.
Yeah, and I think for some of us, you might have had such a habit of just sweeping things under the carpet that the tension feels like what's normal. And so you wonder why things constantly feel off. And you're like, I feel like we're just not in sync. I feel like I can't remember the last time I felt really connected to you. And the truth is there are some real conversations that you need to be having with each other to release the tension. It's kind of like a fish doesn't know it's wet. And for some of us, you've had such a long time in tension for so long that it's not that you can't relate to each other. It's that you won't feel the peace and the calm. You won't actually get to know your spouse at their healthiest because you both are constantly in this moment of tension. And so it just robs you of opportunities to really connect and know your spouse at their healthiest. But one of the other big issues that we see that stops couples from relating to each other well outside of just tension and unresolved tension is just being distracted. I don't think it's any surprise to any of us that we live in a time right now where we have more distractions, more dings, more beeps, more alerts than ever before. Like, so far, we're doing pretty well in this church service because nobody's phone has gone off. It did during worship, but like so far we're doing okay. But like even just doing a church service, we have trouble, let alone when we're home. And so this other idea is that distraction robs you of attraction. Robs you of attraction. That literally you have less uninterrupted moments with your spouse, less uninterrupted moments with the people that you care about most, and so you don't get to connect on as deep of a level. We've all seen or even been the couple who's sitting at a restaurant across from each other at a table and on the phones, not even making eye contact with each other. Nobody wants to be that couple, but our screen time is affecting our relationships so much that it's actually being studied now. Michigan State University found that couples with high phone distractions are 70% less likely to report feeling happy, and they face a higher risk of divorce. If I could just give you a pill that made it 70% less likely for you to have a divorce, everybody would be like, where is it? But if I told you the pill is setting down your phone, none of us do it. And that tells us what we value most. According to the Institute for Family Studies, 1 in 5 married adults, 21%, with a spouse that overuses a phone say that they're not happy with their marriage, compared to only 8% of couples who do not report a phone issue. Wheatley Institute said that more than 1/3 of married Americans say that their spouse is often on the phone or some kind of screen when they would prefer to talk or do something together as a couple. And I get one of you probably wants to nudge the other right now. But whichever one of you wants to nudge the other, if we did the same sermon next week, it would probably be the other one who wants to nudge the other one. Because this isn't just a guy problem. This isn't just a lady problem. This is usually one spouse is on the phone for one night, and you're like, oh, they're always on their phone. And then the next night, what do? You oversteer and you overcompensate, like they're going to be on their phone, so I'm on mine. And then that spouse is like, I'm ready to play. I'm ready to hang out, right? And so this is something that both of us need to own.
This has gone so far in our culture at this point that there's actually a term for this. It's called phubbing, which is phone snubbing. It's shutting out the other person because you're so invested in your phone. Yeah, is that going to stick with you? It's been found to, this probably won't be shocking, but lead to a lack of intimacy. When partners spend their evenings staring at their screens instead of spending time with each other, the emotional bond physically atrophies. We realized that even our distractions were robbing us of connection. We've had the same conversation. I'd like to say this, even if you're finding yourself in this scenario, which I think is super, super common, like that first, what was that first stat? The 8%. Oh, it was the second one. 8% of couples do not report a phone issue. That's a big percent that does have a phone issue, even if you don't think everything's broken. They're all acknowledging, like, I know it's a problem, but I'm not really doing anything about it. So what Steve and I actually did recently, and it's by no means worked perfectly, but we got this something, we're not sponsored. It's called Brick, and it's literally this tiny little square, it's a brick, that you stick inside your door, so when we come in at the end of the night, you scan it, you scan your phone against the brick as you come in the door, and it shuts down all the apps that you have asked it to, basically. So you go into the app when you originally get it, and you say, okay, when I scan it, I want All social media shut down. I want games taken off. I don't want YouTube available. And you can't reopen those things until you actively get up and go scan it again. So it's not the cure-all. Like, you have to make an active choice to shut it off. But I actually liked it so much that I decided to shut mine off for a week. And I got so much accomplished. We all want to say it's not us. It's probably you. I'm just saying, like, I think it's all of us sometimes. Like, it may not be as excessive as whoever you're thinking of, but it doesn't matter. It's robbing us of time, and it's all of those things can be useful and can benefit us for good things. But if they are the majority of our time to escape reality, we need to start facing reality.
That check-in conversation we mentioned earlier was actually about this. It was just simply, hey, I feel like we're sitting in the same room, even if we're watching a show, we're on our phones. Like, we're watching a screen, but not watching the screen because we're watching our screens. And so we just decided, you know what, let's fix this. And so personally, and this isn't a prescription for anybody, this is just what I did. For me, I knew Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and then I bricked the app store so I couldn't just download a game. Because, like, how many of us would go like, I won't do those apps, and then we just get a game that would fill our time with. And so, and we put the brick on the outside. We have an entryway, and then there's another door to our place. And so we put it on the entryway. That way, literally, you'd have to actually leave our place and go down a flight of stairs in order to unbrick your phone. Because if it's just on the fridge, you're just going to unbrick it as soon as your spouse leaves the room as you get up and grab a snack, right? And so it's just a matter of we just wanted to prioritize, because what we found is that when you prioritize screen time over spouse time, you end up treating us time like it's interrupting me time, right? And if every time you're home, you look at home as me time, like I'm home, but I really need alone time, that's actually a really good sign that you need something else. You need some sort of shift, because you got you time when you were in the car. You got you time when you were on the way to work or the way from work. You've had you time when you were on your break at work. But if when you're home, that's when you really get selfish about your time, then what you're doing is you're actually just trying to escape your reality. And so what we need is we need to stop leaving openings for our distractions. Proverbs chapter 4 says this: look straight ahead and fix your eyes on what lies before you. Mark out a straight path for your feet. Stay on the safe path. Don't get sidetracked. Keep your feet from following evil. Just super direct. Like, chapter 4 is just like boom, boom, boom. This would be a great chapter of the Bible for like a coach for a sports team. Like, stay on track. Let's move forward. Like, that type of thing. But we're going to go into depth later this year on our relationships with our screens. But the thing I just want to make sure all of us hear us on is this. Usually we go to screens because we're trying to escape something in our reality. That's the usual reason why we go to our screens. And so the right thing to do, yes, you need to dampen some of the distractions, but the thing you really need to work on is building a more compelling reality. Like, yes, we need to minimize distractions, but you also need to build something that's worth being in. And so part of the way we do that, just looking at Proverbs 4, he says, mark out a straight path. You're trying to escape how you feel at home, so what you need to do is make a plan to make home feel better. Build your relationship. Go on dates. Spend some time. Maybe do like a 15-minute check-in that is no screens as soon as you get home from work, so that you and your spouse are interruption-free and you're able to catch up. Like, do things that are these simple, small steps that can start building a better reality at home. And then the other thing that Proverbs says is don't get sidetracked. Like, find a way to make your distractions harder to find and a way to make connection easier to create. Your phone is kind of like a door. If you leave the door to your house open 24/7, anything can get into your house. And if you walk into your house after you've been out all day and your door's been open and the living room is chewed up, there's wild animals everywhere, and you're like, why? How did this happen? It's because you left the door open. So you let anything come in. And the same is true with your phone, that literally your phone or whatever screen is a doorway opening to everything that's on the internet. everything. And then we wonder why unhealthy things snuck their way into our relationships. The question is, do you have access to everything online, or does everything online have access to you?
I think the natural question to follow that is like, okay, I put it down, but then we don't even know how to talk to each other anymore. That's what we've been avoiding, is the silence, right? I think a big thing that Steve and I have always come back to, especially when we're walking through tough seasons together, is like, I could cry just thinking about it because it's so necessary. When was the last time you laughed together? Like, you need to laugh about something. You need to you need to talk about the hard things. We need to address the things that are going on in our relationship. But if that's all of your conversations, then yes, it is going to feel like everything's going to feel like a counseling session. Everything's going to feel weighty. And we need to make sure we're enjoying our time together. So some suggestions we have, not everything is going to be without a screen, right? Like we do like to watch a comedy together because it makes us laugh. And we like to, many of you know, we're competitive Mario Karters. So we do love some Mario Kart. But we really try to add variety, right? So then we'll have nights that we love to play a good card game. Steve and I are competitive, so we like to beat each other. Some people are sweet and like, oh, you win this time. It's cute. We don't get that. We're not like that. I don't understand. When I beat him,
Winning's fun.
Steve is known for winning everything he touches. He has like the golden touch. I don't know what it is. I know that annoys you. But when I do win, I'm a very sore winner. I like to rub it in, but that's what makes me laugh. And it's fun. Anyway, just some...
That's why I like to win, because she's really awful when she wins.
Anyway, just some suggestions. Playing a card game together. If board games are what you enjoy more, do that. Or it might just be maybe you guys both have like different books that you're interested in, but maybe you sit close, share a blanket while you read a book. Just spend time together when it's quiet, when there's actually space to hear the other person speak. Because when we're distracted by all the other things, we don't hear what they're saying. We're not processing what they're saying. We might be going, oh, really? But if they asked you to repeat it, do you know what they said? Okay, we've all been there. We have all felt that way, and we all want to pretend like we're retaining it all. But we are not that superhuman. I want to push the importance of this and not just talk about what needs to change, but really make some moves, which leads us to our next point, which is priorities are made by your choices, not just by your voices. Here's what we mean by that. I think we have all heard at one point or another, or maybe you've been the one to say it, you're my number one priority. Or it's God, and then you, and then everything else. And those things sound really nice, but if there's nothing following them to actually show that that's true, are we being honest? Is that our reality? It sounds really reassuring, especially when you're feeling disconnected. But then if actions don't follow it and you have another moment like that, is that going to feel reassuring the next time that you hear it when nothing ever followed? You're going to feel that same disconnection within a few days, even if it's kind of the Band-Aid for a little while. You need to choose to prioritize what you say that you value. Otherwise, I'm looking back at that Proverbs 4 verse that we read a few minutes ago. This would be like looking straight ahead and marking out your path and saying, okay, this is a good idea. These are the good decisions we're going to make, except I'm going to go this way. I'm going to choose something entirely. I know that this is a good idea. I know that this is the path to wholeness and health for us, but I'm headed this way. The path doesn't actually matter if you're never going to use it.
Yeah. One of the things that we say a lot, we've said it about a number of different subjects here at church, is that faith isn't about just what you say. You have to have the way that you believe match what you say you believe. Because anybody can say they believe anything. But how about the way that you believe, right? And so connection, just like faith, connection isn't built by intention. It's built by action. There's a principle I heard a pastor talk about called the path principle. And he just said, if I'm trying to go to Florida, I need to pick the right path. But if I just say, like, I know I need to drive south, but I drive north, I'm not going to get to Florida, right? It doesn't matter if I know the path. What I have to do is take the right road. and commit to driving on it. Having a goal to tell your spouse that you love them is a wonderful thing. Like, I have a couple friends who, I have one friend who told me when he first got married, and he's stuck with it. It's the thing that he keeps on saying is, I tell my spouse every day I love them, and I hold them tight, like give them a close hug. That's a wonderful thing, but I just wonder how many of our relationships would actually be stronger if, rather than just committing to, I'm going to tell my spouse the words I love them, if instead we said, I'm going to commit to show my spouse every day that I love them. Like, because those actions are a little bit more powerful. And those actions too, like it requires a little bit more creativity. I'm going to show you that I love you. And like, yeah, still say it, but your priorities aren't made by your voices. They are shown by your choices.
This is going to bring our conversation kind of full circle here, because one of the best ways to show this is by forgiving. And I think sometimes we don't like to acknowledge that there's maybe some forgiving to do in our relationships. Luke 17:3-4 tells us this: watch yourselves. If another believer sins,
Even your spouse.
rebuke that person. Okay, when we see rebuke that person, it's easy to be like, whoa, that's a strong word when we're talking about this subject especially. Basically what this means in this situation is, when it says rebuke that person, it means be willing to have the tough conversations. Stop avoiding the tough conversations. I think there has to be space in your relationship to call out what's unhealthy, because if we can't look that in the eye, then we can never make a change to it. You can't just put something new in and then hope all the things you never discussed and never talked about are going to go away. You have to be able to look them in the eye. And none of us like to look at ourselves and see what's ugly. None of us. Like, there's not one person that goes, tell me, I'm ready for it. Sometimes we know we need it, so we might ask a close friend for it. But if we're unwilling to have tough conversations because it makes us feel too insecure, or it feels like an attack on our pride, we have to be willing to have those conversations, or we can't even better ourselves, let alone your relationship.
Yeah, Dev used the example earlier of unresolved tension is like sweeping things under the carpet. Trying to just add good things without any rebuke, without any addressing, is like you've swept so much under the carpet that the carpet's all bumpy and lumpy, and then you're like, let's put a table on top of this. Like, everything's still going to feel off. And so it doesn't go away. You just have, like, the whole house feels like it's unleveled now. And so you need to be willing to have those conversations to pop the bubble or pop the balloon that's creating all the tension.
So, sorry, back to Luke 17:3-4. If another believer sins, rebuke that person. Be willing to have the tough conversations. Then, if there is repentance, forgive. That means you can't just hold things against them that they've worked really hard to make better. You cannot let them live in that forever. If we claim there's been forgiveness, we need to let it go, even when it's hard. And sometimes that means letting it go every day because you picked it up again the next morning. It's going to take work. This doesn't just happen by itself, magically by itself. Verse 4, even if that person wrongs you 7 times a day and each time turns again and asks for forgiveness, you must forgive. We extend grace to people far from us, like our coworkers or our cousins or our students or whoever it might be, and we give those people the benefit of the doubt. And we say that we're good at forgiving, but it's often hard to forgive the people that are closest to us. If we're careful, we need to make sure that that grace still extends to the people that we see every day. And I don't know why it gets harder. I don't know why the people closest to us are the toughest ones to forgive, but maybe it's because they're the ones we've forgiven over and over and over again, and we get tired. They still deserve forgiveness. Your forgiveness gives permission to the people you care about most not to have to be perfect, and your forgiveness, despite their imperfections, might just give them the motivation they need to grow.
Yeah, I think I know what you were going to say. If your spouse feels like no matter what they do, even if they did change, you would still hold it over them, why would they change? Like if there's something that you've been holding over your spouse for years and you're wondering, well, they still act this way. It might be because they don't even believe that you would change if they would change. None of the things that we're saying are promises that things will turn around. Like I wish I had magic words that could make even the most unhealthy relationship 100% better. But our job is to love and live in a way that creates the most opportunities for broken people, including our spouses, and broken relationships to get healthy and follow the way of Jesus. And so the last idea we have for you guys this morning is that you bring you into all of your relationships. And this one's hard because this is the thing you need to own individually. That even if you want to blame everything on your spouse, or if you're in a dating relationship, I want to blame you for all our problems. Well, the problems exist because two people are in a relationship, and you brought you there. Like when you start dating, you stop being single, but you don't stop being you. And when you get married, you become a husband or wife, but who you are as a husband or wife is built on who you were as a fiance and who you were as a boyfriend or a girlfriend. You bring your strengths, your weaknesses, your past, your dreams, your hang-ups, and even your demons into a relationship. But if you don't confront your demons, they will end up parenting your kids and trying to kill your marriage.
Yeah. Steve originally wrote that into what we were saying today. I'm like, wow, we're just going for it. But it is that simple. If we don't confront our own stuff, it doesn't just influence us. It's going to affect all the relationships around us. There's a really good example of this in Genesis 4. We see a clear example of this idea. God had created everything to be good. Adam and Eve had decided to disobey God and breaking that goodness that God had created. And now their children were grappling with a broken world. Their kids were named Cain and Abel, and they developed tension very early on in their relationship. Cain was jealous of his brother, and God spoke to Cain specifically and warned him what would happen if he did not address the bitterness in his own heart. Genesis 4, 6, and 7 says, "Why are you so angry?" the Lord asked Cain. "And why do you look so dejected? You will be accepted if you do what is right. But if you refuse to do what is right, then watch out." And this goes with what Stephen was just saying. Sin is crouching at the door and eager to control you, but you must subdue it and be its master. We do have power over sin, but if we never choose to address it, it's going to sit there and it's going to grow. God doesn't blame Abel for Cain's jealousy. This was never Abel's problem. God tells Cain to own what's going on inside of him, or it's going to damage him and the people around him. But what was the end result? The result of Cain not owning his own bitterness was the death of his own brother.
Simply put, if you don't own your crap, other people will end up paying for it. I met with a guy this week who wrecked a dating relationship that he was in. He owned what he had done, but he also recognized that it was a pattern of behavior that keeps on ruining these relationships. And so as we were talking, I just played out the scenario for him. And I said, say you meet the perfect girl. Like she is pretty, she's awesome, she's smart, she's forgiving, she's kind, all of these things. I was like, that relationship will still get wrecked. And he's like, how do you know? I was like, because you're in it. And I'm close enough with him to be able to say that, but the truth is you bring you into all of your relationships. And so it wouldn't even matter if you were married to the perfect person. If you don't own some of your stuff, or you can't own when you make a mistake, you can't own the fact that you have flaws and ask for forgiveness, it's going to be really hard to maintain a healthy relationship with you. The answer isn't turning your spouse or girlfriend or boyfriend or fiance into what you think they need to be. The answer is to choose to become the type of person who can love better, forgive more often, and be present with others who need you most. Deuteronomy 30:19 is one of my favorite passages of all in the entire Bible. It's just God speaking to his people, and he says, "Today I have given you the choice between life and death. So God gives you options in life. He gives you the ability to make choices. He says between blessings and curses, that he's the one providing the choice in front of you. But then he says, now I call heaven and earth to witness the choice you make. That God is actually bringing all of heaven and earth around your life to witness what you decide to do with your life. That way you can't blame anybody else for what decisions you make with your life. Like, this is you. The hard reality is we are attached to the lives that we create. And so if we say, I really don't like where life ended up, oftentimes there are some decisions, not everything in your life is up to you, but there are some decisions that we can look back on and go, I contributed to where this is. But then he says this, and I love this part, because this shows God's heart in all of this. He says, I've called heaven and earth as witnesses to the choice you make. God's heart in this is this: oh, that you would choose life so that you and your descendants might live. Yes, you should pray to God to help your marriage get better or to help build health in your most important relationships. That is a great start, but you need to choose life-giving habits. You need to make the decisions to own what you need to own and forgive what you haven't been forgiving and what you've been holding against your spouse. God can't choose your actions for you, but he will help you become who you need by giving you opportunities to choose the right thing. But you need to make the choices that bring life and blessings, and he'll provide the opportunities. I had another conversation this week with somebody who their marriage has been through the ringer this year. And the conversation on the phone, they ended up asking just kind of the question that we all do when we go through hard things. I'm struggling to know why all of this happened. And what I said to them was, that's up to you. The why is up to you. Because God has a why for why it happened. And God's why is that he wants it to actually lead to his goodness being on display. That maybe you two will get even stronger than ever, and you can actually help other people who have been in your situation, that you can actually be life-giving to other couples who are where you were. Satan has a why as well. And his why is he wants it to break you. You get to decide which one comes true. Like, the why is up to you. So which one of those realities is really which one you choose? God isn't making your decision for you, but you also can't say the devil made me do it. That God has heaven and earth as witnesses to the decisions you make. You bring you into all of your relationships. So who will you choose to be? And the beauty in this, and I want everybody to hear this, if you're in a relationship right now and it feels great, or if you're in a relationship right now and it doesn't feel great, or you're not in a relationship right now and you're like, none of this sounds great. This all sounds scary after today. This is what I want you to know. God says to his people, oh, that you would choose life. God is on team health. God will give to you or take from you whatever it takes to help you make the right choice. And that might turn the heat up in your relationship. I don't mean that in a good way. In a bad way? Like, it just feels like tension, like there's friction. Turn the heat up in the relationship sounds like a good thing. You get what I'm saying? Because they're not laughing, so I don't feel like they understand. You guys know what turn the heat up in the relationship is, right? All right, I'm getting a few now. Okay, that's it. But God's not sitting there, arms crossed, going, you're going to screw this up. God is actually on the sidelines begging you to make choices that will lead to life. Because what he says right after, oh, that you would choose life, he says that you and your descendants might live. God desires that your kids would see a model for a marriage through you and your spouse so that they could walk in health and life and godly truth. That God's advocating for you to make the decisions that will lead to life in your relationships. He's on your side. And so I would say, regardless of where you're at in the room, the thing you need to do is lean on him. Because he's the one who knows how to bring health to relationships, because he's the one who brought health to our relationship with him. That while we were utterly helpless, God sent Jesus. While we were God's enemies, God sent Jesus. While we had nothing to offer, God sent Jesus. While we were still sinners, God sent Jesus. God doesn't just bring health to your relationship with him. He knows how to bring health to your marriage. So what you need to do is trust him. I want you to bow your heads, close your eyes. God, I ask that you would turn up the heat in all of our relationships in both ways. God, I ask that you would bring us closer with our spouse. God, I'm asking that you would bring us closer to you. I'm asking that you would help us realize the areas of our life or the areas of our relationship where maybe we have caused tension. Give us the courage to actually resolve the tension, to pop the balloon, to not just live hoping that things don't come up. You can't outrun your sin, you can't forget your sin. That's not how it works. It doesn't just go away. You need to resolve the issue. You need to resolve tension. God, help us resolve the tension in our relationships. Help us minimize our distractions and create more opportunities for connection. God, I'm asking that you would help us own what we need to own in our relationships. In the same way that the only path towards a relationship with you, God, is by owning our role in our sin, our role in our disconnection from you, that we need to own, God, I'm a sinner and I need you, Jesus. Only you can resolve this. Only you can bring me a relationship with God. In that same way, the only way we can have a healthy relationship with the people we care about most is by owning our sin, owning our role in where it is. So God, I'm asking that you would give us a conviction for aggressive ownership of our roles in our relationships. God, I'm asking that you would bless the marriages in the room. I'm asking that you would guard the hearts of the people who aren't married yet in the room. And I'm asking that you would help all of us take steps towards you. Sin is crouching at our door, but we need to actually work with you to master it in our lives so that it doesn't just destroy us, but it doesn't destroy our marriages either. Thank you for your forgiveness. I thank you for your son. And I ask that you would just help us live with that boldness to follow what you have to say towards health with you and health with our spouses. Amen.